All right, I'm testing this. I'm not even sure if this is live. If you're watching this on VOD, go look in the description or in the comment section. I'll put the time when this actually starts. But I'm testing stuff, first time streaming, so give me a second here. All right, all right. Let's see if this is working. Sorry, I had to do a little bit of testing here to figure out if this is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing, or if I have the settings all set up properly. You know how it is. Technical difficulties always. And here we go. We will get to drawing though in a second. Once I figure out if this is good enough. I think it should be good enough. I think we're set to go. Let's just give this a try. And yeah. Welcome to the stream. We're going to do a little bit of drawing here. I need to go on a new page here in a second. Should I maybe make this a little bit taller? Make a couple of adjustments here. Hopefully this doesn't fully block my face here, but there we go. Maybe that's a little bit better. You see a little bit more of the page at once. There we go. And let's just get to some drawing. Let's just get this page here. And there we go. And we'll be drawing some of these cute little characters today, taking it easy. I don't think I'll be doing any teaching today, but ultimately the stream will probably become somewhat of a mixture of just like drawing together and also teaching, because ultimately teaching is what I like to do. Hopefully that's visible. Let me know if I should move things around a little bit. Obviously this cable in my face is not great, not a great setup right now. Can I fix that right now? know if that does that help any? It helps maybe a little bit. And here we go. Yeah, as I was saying, obviously some of the teaching will probably be in tutorial style on the YouTube channel instead of doing it through live streams, because that's I think a better format in terms of teaching. But we can practice together here. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing here. I do hope to do some live streaming here and there. Maybe do this regularly, because I do like talking to people. Like actually being connected to people always feels nice. I think that's like one of the downsides of teaching online, is that you don't get that connection sometimes, you know. Obviously you do get very nice emails once in a while that are very sweet, where people say like, hey, this stuff helped me, and that feels great. But because you don't actually see the improvement face to face, sometimes it's easier to forget that you're teaching real people and they're getting value out of what you're teaching. So I'm hoping that like live streaming might become a place where I can feel a little bit more connected to people who want to learn to draw, or just like want companionship while drawing, because drawing is such a fun activity. So that's kind of what we're doing here. It is also that eventually you do run out of tutorials to make. Like you can't just make infinite tutorials, especially in terms of making useful tutorials, because I think at some point it becomes more about creative expression than technical ability. Now obviously I have a lot more tutorials that I do want to make, especially in terms of like drawing flowers and stuff. But when it comes to like, eventually I will run out of tutorials to make, and then it really will become more about like being a companion for people who want to draw, you know? Because I love watching live streams while I draw. I think it makes it a little bit more of a communal experience rather than it being just you on your own, you know? So really here we're just like having fun. I'm just drawing these slightly dorky, cute little characters. I've been drawing quite a few of these lately, and I'm wondering where that will take me, but I'm trying not to like plan too much, because I have a tendency to over plan. Try too hard to come up with some grand strategy, and then eventually I might lose interest. I don't know if you guys can relate to that. You know, you set a goal and then suddenly a couple of weeks pass by and you're not as interested in that goal. Hopefully my audio is coming through clear here. Yeah, I have a tendency to get overexcited about things and then lose interest over time. So I'm going to try to thread lightly here and just have fun with it for now and see where things take me. I think artistic projects are that way. They come in phases. Now, obviously, some people have specific styles, so the style itself is what connects all their work. But if you're like a new artist, I don't think stressing over any of that stuff is really helpful. I think just trying to have fun is like the only thing that matters. Learning to get comfortable with the medium so that you can have more fun. Like ultimately, all the skills you are learning should serve your ability to have fun with it. So I think that's kind of what I'm trying to remind myself of. You know, it should feel a little bit like a vacation every time you draw. At least that's how I feel about it. Hopefully, let me see. There we go. That's a better view. It is. Should I be moving? Should I be moving this? This cable being in my face is not a great setup right now, but I don't think there is a way for me to really move that right now. I'm gonna have to buy a longer cable. I think that's what's going to have to happen here. Actually, this way makes more sense. There we go. There, maybe that's a little better. You guys are going to be learning with me as I learn how to stream, because this is kind of new for me. I did a little bit of live streaming before, like many years ago, but it was a very different setup, so I'm going to have to adjust things as we go. But I hope you're having a nice day as you're watching this. I think one thing that's challenging for a lot of beginners is just developing the habit of drawing in your sketchbook. Now some beginners are very lucky where their love for it kind of like happens naturally, but I do think that for a lot of people, because they are slightly more self-critical, will struggle a little bit to develop that love, and and I think that's totally fine if you are the type of person who needs a little bit more effort to grow and learn in that way. Because I think I was that way. Well, I was that way, where my initial love for it was great and kept me drawing a little bit here and there. But when I wanted to take it a little bit more seriously, I I struggled to find the passion in it, like the joy in it, and then it took me many years to get back to it. So I think it's totally fine if you like lose sight of it for a bit and decide to come back to it in the future. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Um, but it is worth pursuing, ultimately, because the ability to like have fun with any activity, I think, is a transferable skill. So even if you don't end up drawing for the rest of your life, if you draw for a little bit, learn the skill of paying attention and enjoying the craft, I think you can apply that skill to many things, and I think that's a lot of fun. It is kind of a superpower to be able to have fun anywhere. I have friends that are that way, where no matter where they take them, wherever you take them, they're kind of like enjoying life, so they don't need a lot of external things to have fun. And I have other friends who needs things to be perfect to have fun. It's very like a temperament based thing, but I do think that that's a skill set. Like I do think that that's a skill that you can practice and learn. You can get better at. It's, I guess to a certain degree, that's like what meditation is. It's just like being good at paying attention, and the better you are at paying attention, the easier it is to like feel fulfilled from small activities. Like you don't need things to be extravagant or special in any way. It's like the smallest activities can be tons of fun. At least that's what I found. Like the better I get at drawing, and the more I understand that the experience of drawing is something that you can transfer over to any other activity, the more I realize that like, oh, you can just choose to have fun. Like you don't have to wait for the conditions to be perfect for you to like enjoy an activity. At least that's how I feel about it. Or at least that's what my experience has been so far, and I'm hoping to practice that even more over the next couple of years, because you know that is a real life superpower that you can develop. Because there's a difference between like being alive and actually living, and I think the difference is like how much are you able to like pay attention and enjoy the experience. And drawing is kind of the perfect hobby to practice that skill. One, because it's low cost, so it doesn't, you know, it's very cheap. Like a pen and pencil is not an expensive investment to make. But also because it's like something you can do on your own. You don't need anyone's permission. It's, I think, very conducive to practicing the skill of enjoying your life. That's how I feel about it right now. It's also something that's been big on my mind because I've been trying to relax a little bit more, and what I've found is it's actually easier to relax while doing activities than just like trying to lay down and relax. If that makes sense. Like having some sort of slight challenge gives you something to focus your mind on. And obviously, drawing is my job, so there's plenty of that happens. But also trying to like have fun with it still, even though it is partially my job. That is one of the advantages of being a hobbyist, is that there's less pressure. But I'm trying to remind myself, like, hey, here's an opportunity to teach a bunch of people who would gain a lot from drawing. I think that's the main thing. To me, it's funny how like a lot of educational system want to like remove the arts, kind of like there are people who think that way. Like, well, people should just learn STEM because it's the most productive, quote unquote productive. But I feel like the arts are the best place to learn how to pay attention, and I think paying attention is great. It's the most productive thing that you could experience. It is also a funny idea to me that learning these skills, these meta skills, wouldn't also be helpful in all parts of life. And everyone's also creative. Like being able to explore your creativity, I think, is so important for everyone. I don't think that's something that is limited to people who, for some reason, were lucky at during childhood to like see that their creativity was valuable. I don't think that's particularly a useful way of looking at it. I think everyone should be able to explore it at least. You know, if people decide that that's not something they want to spend energy on, that's a different thing. But I think most people would enjoy it if they were given the opportunity to realize how much creativity they actually have. But most people think that they should have the natural talent, quote unquote, whatever that means. Let me adjust this. I'm still like figuring out the settings here, so I'm just slightly blurry there. But anyways, as I was setting, I think fundamentally everyone has some creativity within themselves. Now, not everyone can make money off it. That's a completely different story and different challenge. But I do think that if you've ever had a conversation with someone and you said a funny thing, to me that's being creative, right? Like, what else? How else would you define that? You know, I think when people say that they're not creative, what they really mean is that they don't have a craft they've practiced enough where it's considered impressive to other people. Is probably the best way to say that. Or you just haven't spent enough time to like feel good about the things that they make. Which funny thing about that is most artists don't feel good about the things they make anyways, no matter how many hours they spend on it. But that's a different discussion. um, yeah, I think anyone would benefit from learning to be a little bit creative, have a craft that is, you know, for fun mostly, but also for exploration. I think be able to draw a little cute doodle on a card that you write to a friend, I think that's immensely valuable. Now, I'm obviously using drawing as my example because it's the thing that I'm heavily focused on teaching, but I think it's also true for any creative endeavor. The advantage with drawing is that you get to look at it after it's done. I think that's one thing that's very good about drawing. So you get to like, you can draw a thing and then reflect on the thing that you've been drawing, and it's like built into the process in a way. I think that's very satisfying, especially when people who think they can't draw and are convinced that they can't but want to try, and then they try and realize, no, actually these are just skills like any other skill that can be learned. It's a muscle that can be trained. And then it's like, oh, we can do all these fun things with this skill that I now have. Here we go. Gonna draw some more of these cute characters. We'll probably be doing this for the rest of today. Maybe tomorrow we'll do some flower studies because I am working on a flower drawing course, so it might make sense for me to like draw some flowers and practice that skill while on here so you guys can practice with me. And then eventually when the course is finished, I've already started working on it quite a bit, but once the course is finished, then we can do that together as well. Because I do think that drawing nature is especially fun. Partially because like it's the rules aren't that strict. Like you can really bend a flower and do whatever with it, and it still looks like a flower. You can really like mess with it and have fun with it. While drawing like figures and characters, I feel like most people put more pressure on themselves, or at least that's been my experience. Like I do that to myself. Because like the human brain is like so focused on human faces that if you don't draw it properly, it can it's easy to be critical of yourself, but you don't have that same mindset when it comes to drawing flowers. So I think that maybe drawing flowers is a great entry point into enjoying art. Now obviously if you have the, the fortitude to jump right into figure drawing and all that stuff, that's obviously great. But I think for a lot of beginner artists, they might benefit from starting with something like flowers and exploring that first, and then adding drawing faces and stuff a little bit later. Obviously, most people like I think a lot of people get into drawing because they like want to do something that's kind of impressive, which I think is totally fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think eventually realizing that, hey, if I don't enjoy this and I feel love for it, then what's the point? I think getting to that point is useful. So focusing on the joy for it from the beginning will be really beneficial. That is also like why drawing fun, easy things sometimes can help you discover that. It is also like, I think everyone does desire to be impressive, right? I think that makes sense. I think that's just a natural desire for all human beings. You like want to feel a bit special. You want to be like good at things, which I think is a healthy impulse, by the way. I think it's a very good thing to pursue, like wanting to improve, because ultimately, where else are you going to find joy in your life? You know, like I think being on a mission is great. Like having a quest of sorts is fun and enjoyable. But you also need to like balance that with, hey, like let's enjoy this moment and see what is actually here. Ambition only takes you so far. That's probably why like people who are slightly older are happier a lot of times, because they realize like, hey, if I'm not enjoying this moment, then what's the point? Comes from years of experience. For those who are lucky, we can learn that lesson earlier on in life and actually enjoy all parts of it. I think it's also easier to be honest with yourself and grow in any skill set if you do find love in the process. Like if you're waiting for some like outcome at the end, then I think it's harder to like see what's right in front of you. It's something I notice in myself, is like the harder I try to be like quote unquote good, whatever that means, the worse my drawings turned out. But the more I focus on like enjoying the moment, the more I'm like open to realizing the mistakes I'm making and like where I can grow and all that. It's also easier to take oh, drawing's loving. It's easier to take feedback when you come from a place of like loving what you do instead of from a place of like being mad at your drawings. So here we go. Just gonna draw more of these cute, fun characters. They're kind of just an excuse to like draw something cute and also draw nature. You know what I mean? Because that's what we like to do. I like to do. But yeah, maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow, no, actually, tomorrow I have a bunch of errands to run tomorrow, so actually tomorrow probably won't be possible. But whenever I stream next, I'll probably be doing some flowers. Flower studies might be helpful, you know. Also, they're very fun to draw, so can't go wrong there. Let's draw a tall, thin character here. I realized I've been drawing a lot of like chubby, wide characters because they're more surface area to draw flowers on. Maybe here, maybe slightly more complicated flower. Boop. If you are watching at home and you want to draw along, feel free to draw along with me. That's kind of like, I think one of the best parts of live streams is like, because they're longer and they're real time, you can join in with whoever you're drawing with in a way. Online companionship, which is great because as soon as you're tired of having companionship, you can just turn it off, which you know, it's hard to do that in real life unless you just kick someone out. Also, I need to learn how to play music in the background for this. I think there's always that big debate, right? Do you play music or do you let people play their own music? Um, I actually need to figure out what is the norm there. What do people expect? Because I think like lo-fi music that works well with like drawing might make sense, but we will figure that stuff out together. So, itchy eye. Boop. Drawing some more of these cute little characters. Here we go. Also, let me know if my mic setup is okay. It's hard for me to actually see. Might be a little bit quiet, but I'd rather have it be slightly quiet than it be like peaking, being way too loud. But yeah. There we go. Look at all these cute little characters we have. Well, pretty much all of these are happy right now. Let's draw a grumpy one. Gotta get all the different emotions in there. This kind of shape here. Yeah, like angry. Maybe not even grumpy. Maybe just like straight up angry. Here we go. Frustrated little bean. There we go. Could also like have the arms like crossed like that. Looks kind of like those M&M characters. Not Eminem the rapper, but the M&Ms. The chocolate. There we go. Now let's add some flowers, foliage. Also, let's do some mushrooms on here. Haven't done some of those yet. Mushy there. We should probably do a sad one as well. Do all the feelings. There we go. Flowers on there. What else is on my mind? This is, to a certain degree, me just talking to the ether. It does feel that way sometimes when I'm like recording stuff, that I'm just like talking to myself, and then I have to remind myself, no, actually there are people listening. They just don't, most of the time when I'm recording YouTube videos, they're going to be listening in the future and not in real time, which is like a strange experience once you think about it too much. And that is why you don't think too much about it. Here we have a bunch of mushrooms on this side. Grumpy little face there. These are so fun to draw. These silly little characters. There we go. Let's draw another one. Let's draw like a sad one. So I wanted to like be like wide, kind of like blob looking. And then tiny legs like that. And then arms, they come down. This side's like this. Really long arms. A little sad mouth. There we go. Kind of like crab looking. And there we go. And now let's draw some mushrooms. And boop. Flowers there. I don't know how the weather's been where you guys are at, but the weather was really hot this weekend, last weekend. And I do not handle heat well, but I like going on walks. So that's always been a struggle during summers because I live in Canada where we have pretty intense summers and intense winters. But I really like fall, spring weather. The only like big upside is um, with extreme weather is that you don't have as many insects because most of them die during winter. Eden Marcos, thank you. I really appreciate it. Are you drawing along with me? Are you just hanging out? Yeah, if you guys are here and you are in the chat, feel free to like leave a comment. I have the chat open. It might just take me a second to like see it because I'm also like looking at my drawing. But we'll get around to it. We'll get around to it. So my camera is saying that it's heating up. It might end up like having to take a break. I wonder what happens if I just like turn it off. We'll see what happens. I hope it's not like, hopefully it's not too bad, but we'll see. Is one of the challenges with these types of cameras is they use a lot of power, so they heat up quite a bit. But we'll see. As long as it lasts a little bit of time here. I don't think these streams will, like, I don't think I'll be streaming for many, many hours. So hopefully if the camera lasts an hour every time I stream, it should be fine. But there's always new challenges, aren't there? I guess it's part of the fun, just like discovering all the things that can go wrong. Because if they can go wrong, they will go wrong. And I was talking about the weather being hot, so it does make sense. The camera's hot, but I have AC running, so I hopefully can handle it. There we go. Maybe let me do a little like angry, like, hey, what you doing over there? Like a shouting character. There we go. Love this. Your sound is very low. You know what, Margaret? Thank you so much. Let me see if I can increase a little bit. Okay, let me know if that helps a little bit. Hopefully, I'm also speaking directly into the mic this time, so that's also going to make it a little bit louder, but is this a little bit better? I'm trying really hard not to like peak it too much, you know, but hopefully that helps a little bit. Let me know if that even did anything, because I'm not used to adjusting that often. Yeah, I'm trying to figure all these things out. It's gonna take some time to like get it all down, but we'll figure it out together. We'll get there eventually. Like most things, you kind of just have to dive into it before having it all figured out. That's actually something I realized when I was learning how to drive, because I learned how to drive at like a later age, and I thought I had to have it all figured out before I learned it. But then as I was learning, I was like, oh, right, you know, you just learn it as you go. You don't have to have it all figured out. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about my camera heating up here. It'd be a bummer if I had to take breaks every couple of minutes, but we will find out. And thank you for letting me know that the sound is very low. Thank you. Okay, so that helped. Okay, good. That's useful. That's useful information to have. I also like, part of me is tempted to move my computer closer by so I can like not get up to do it, but it's also, my room is not huge and this table is not large, so I don't know how I would do that, but we'll figure it out. How are you guys doing? Are you guys drawing along? Kind of just hanging out? Because personally, I like drawing along with streams because it does feel like someone's in the room with you, and it's like, oh, we're actually doing this very fun activity together. And then when you get tired of it, you can just turn it off. It's a big benefit. What else am I? What other emotion can I? Let's just do it on the sad one, maybe. Or maybe like a neutral, like, hey, I'm barely existing kind of face. Just like getting by. Draw a little suitcase, coming back from work, like a little purse, I guess. Waiting for the bus, maybe. These are so fun to draw, and they're so silly. I think that's one of the cool parts about drawing, is that you really can draw whatever you want. Like, there are no rules. Just do whatever. Especially a medium like drawing, like a 2D drawing, I think there's an advantage there because it's so easy to make marks that you can really just draw whatever illusion you want. Nothing has to look realistic. That's probably one of the challenges for sculptors, is that what they make actually has to like stay in space. Like, there are physics to it that need to make sense. Like, I don't have to think about how this character stands, like the weight distribution, any of that. I can just draw it however I want. It can be lopsided, doesn't matter. No, I'm obviously biased because I like drawing. Twinkle edits. Yes. A what? Go on. Say the thing. Say it. Here we have a little happy character. Maybe do a little crown dealio. There we go. Arms. Maybe I have to put a fan on the camera? I don't even know. I assume people will use these cameras to stream regularly, so I'm probably have to play with the settings to figure out the heat stuff. But as I was saying earlier, exploring different things in your sketchbook, I think, is a useful thing. Like, I've been drawing a lot of these cute characters lately, and it's kind of like a new thing. Well, I've always drawn cute characters, but I think these specific types of characters is fairly new. And it's always fun, like, you go through seasons of interests. So like, when I flip through my sketchbooks, I can see like, oh, I went through a phase where I was drawing this type of thing, and a phase when I was drawing this type of thing. So I think that's why it's also kind of good to like write in your sketchbook like what you're going through, almost keeping it like a diary. I think is like very interesting, especially when you're like a couple of years away from the sketchbook. Like, your future self will appreciate it because you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember when this was happening, or when I went to this specific coffee shop and I was drawing. So sometimes I'll like write the location where I'm at, right? So right here I could just write first live stream, right? So now my future self will be like, oh yeah, I drew these during my first live stream, and that just becomes like an interesting thing to look at in the future. It's a good way of remembering your life, I think. Let's draw a wide boy here. Eyes low down here. Maybe like a little bit sad. Kind of shy. Small legs. Arms out like this. Those don't even really look like arms, but you know what it is. Flower. And some mushrooms. One thing that I do want to try, hopefully, maybe later this year, is doing like a travel sketchbook. I think that would be cool. Like, I haven't really done much traveling in my life, but I have so many friends who have caught the travel bug. I think it's like very common for my generation, or like younger generations, is like traveling, especially because it's become, I think, more affordable. Or at least more affordable relative to like real estate costs. Which I'm gonna try not to complain about while I'm on here. I complain enough about it with my friends. Just cost of living going insane. But yeah, like I think I think it'd be fun to do travel different places and keep a sketchbook. You like draw stuff. No, I don't do a lot of like life drawing necessarily. Like I don't draw buildings and stuff right now, but maybe that's worth checking out. Wow, look at this cute little character. Ooh. There we go. Let's draw another one. Let's draw a tall one. Tall like that. I also found like going on long walks has made drawing more enjoyable. Like I feel like it's a similar skill set where you're like being relaxed, letting the mind wander a little bit. I think that's one of the funny things about getting older is that, like the things that you enjoy become simpler and simpler. At least that's been my experience. Like the things that I want now have gone from the most complex, like amazing, crazy adventures to like just like wanting to sit and draw, wanting to like go for a long walk. Which my bank account appreciates. Or it could also just be uh, a phase in life. Where would I like to go? That's a good question. I think so. I was born and raised in Norway, so I want to go back home because I haven't gone back home since childhood. You know, most of Europe would be interesting, but that's the thing is like because I don't have a travel bug. I haven't really thought that much about location specifically. All my friends they absolutely love Japan, and they say that that's like the experience that everyone should have. What do you think? Where have you been that you would recommend? Are there places that you want to go to? I'm open to suggestions. But going home would probably make the most sense as a first trip, probably. But we'll see. I also live in like I live close to Toronto, if you know where that is. So maybe going to Vancouver is also like cheaper because it's same country. So maybe that's shouldn't be my first place to go. But I think one of the challenges for travel for me is that most of my close guy friends they're all in long-term committed relationships. So when they travel, it's with their partner, and I'm a single Pringle. So right now I don't really have someone to travel with, but we'll figure that out. Just to do a bit of solo travel. I'm also a little bit worried that if I go traveling, that I'll get addicted to it, and then I'll like end up traveling too much. But that might also be like a great motivator to like do better in business and draw more things. We should like draw a dog like cutie here. I just realized these are very like kind of human-esque, like standing tall. What would a dog looking one look like? Here, let me move this around here. And there we go. We had one that like had a bunch of legs here. Not a bunch of legs, let's just do like regular legs. And then face. Then maybe like mushrooms where the ears would go. There we go. I also do want to practice drawing more like different types of flowers. I'm noticing that I'm like leaning on the same types of flowers over and over again. That will be something we can work on together. Silly drawing. Yeah, sketchbook stuff is, I think, probably the one of the main focus. I do think that that's probably the habit that I think most people would benefit from. Doing big illustrations is a lot of pressure, and I don't think the hobbyist would benefit as much from that as just like exploring in a sketchbook, just like doodling in a way. Because it's also like easier to fall in love with something if it's low pressure. I would love to. I would love a long stay in Amsterdam. Skyden Lillehammer a long time ago. Ooh, are you a skier? That's interesting. That sounds beautiful. Yeah, Amsterdam. I kind of just want to go to Amsterdam and sit at the cafes there, because I've seen like so many videos of the cafes being absolutely beautiful, and like, especially during fall, because there's so many like trees along the paths. Yeah, Amsterdam was definitely one on my list. From like the videos and stuff I've seen, that does seem like a place that is great for people who draw, because it seems like kind of low key, relaxing. Or it might also just be the only things that people put on video. Amsterdam, yeah. I also want to go to Vietnam. I have a friend who currently lives there, so maybe visiting that before he leaves, so I at least have someone that I know there might be useful. The only thing is that he's very low key and like relaxed, so I don't know if he'd be down to like go places. Probably just want to like hang out, which is fair. Because he's pretty much been on a 2 year vacation to a certain degree, chilling, relaxing. Which makes sense for someone who's like a burnt out gifted child, you know, if you guys know what that is. Oh, kind of like me. Well, that's not the greatest. Oh, camera needs a break apparently. Yeah, not skiing anymore. I would love to sketch along the canals in Amsterdam. Yes, absolutely. That sounds amazing. Um, yeah, part of me feels a little bit like I'd be boring traveling. Like, I don't know if I want to do a lot of fun things. Part of me almost feels like just going to like small places and just drawing would be a big part of my travel experience if I did go traveling. Um, yeah, but like, this is the type of thing where I actually have to do it to find out. I realize I'm like overthinking it instead of just like doing it. By the way, my camera overheated. That's why there's like no drawing on the screen right now. Let's see. Let's see if I can turn it back on soon, or how long this takes to cool down. Because part of me is wondering. It's not the people definitely use this to. I'll figure that out later. That's fine. How long was the stream so far? How long did it go for? 45 minutes. So it's not horrible. If I need to take a break every 45 minutes, probably good for my hand. But I'm obviously not stoked about it. But we'll see what happens. Not skiing anymore. Yeah. I have so many friends who, pretty much all my friends who ski have gotten like serious injuries from it. And I understand that skiing probably is magical. Like I totally see why it would be magical. But it also seems very risky. Like it feels like, to me, it feels a little bit like, why take the risk? Um, but that's also because maybe I'm someone who is not an adrenaline junkie, so I'm totally fine just keep my feet planted on the ground. We also don't like roller coasters. But yeah, I think I have 2 or 3 friends who all like messed up their knees skiing because that is the risk, you know. But probably that's probably also why people like it. You know, the risk is probably why your mind gets so focused while you do it. At least maybe that's what I'm guessing. Um, yeah. Where else could I want to go? I would pretty much be down to go anywhere. The only problem for me is that I'm not a particularly huge fan of heat. like hot places probably wouldn't be the best for me. But if you're just visiting, I think I should probably just suck it up and deal with it. You know what I mean? That might be worth the experience. Have you found that traveling has been life changing for you? Because for a lot of my friends, they make that argument that like, hey, when you travel, it really changes your perspective and stuff. And that is what I'm the most curious about. Just like, how could it possibly change my perspective? I think that's very interesting. But yeah, all things to figure out as we go. I don't know if you guys fall into this, but I fall into the temptation of like having everything figured out. Like, oh, I need to plan it all out, and it's like as soon as you do it, it's like, oh no, like one, you can't really predict anything, and if things went the way you predicted it, it'd be very boring. So it doesn't even help to try to predict everything. And it's also that like you never know what life has to offer, so might as well just relax. Yeah. Part of me is wondering like, do I should probably change my camera thing. The problem here right now is that my computer that's running the stream is over there, so I have to like walk back and forth every time. But I'll turn this camera back on in a second to see if how much of a break does it actually need. If it needs a break, if it needs like a 5-minute break every half an hour, that's fine. But if it needs like a 20-minute break, then these live streams are going to be maybe a little bit janky. If you guys are drawing along, feel free to email me with the stuff that you guys draw. I would love to see if you are comfortable sharing. Obviously, it's not like a must to do, but that is kind of the thing that I want out of live streaming, is to like feel a bit more connected to other people who draw, or just people in general, just feeling like this isn't just me on an island shouting into the internet and sometimes getting a signal back. A big part of this is just like I want to feel connected to people. I think that was the beauty of the early internet. It was very much like the connection. I think over time things have become a little bit more about popularity, and now I'm realizing like, no, there's things that you can do to like stay connected. Just seeing other places is great. Planning is okay, but don't let it stop you. Yeah, for sure. One of my guy friends 2 years ago invited me to go to Thailand, and I said no because I was worried about finances, which now looking back I regret so much, because I was told I was fine financially. I could have taken that trip and been fine, and I think I was just like too scared to do it and didn't do it. So now I'm like realizing that like, no, like take the risk. It's probably worth the money. If anyone, yeah, and it's also like if you take a couple of trips and realize that's not for me, then that's a good lesson to take anyways. I did go to Venice and Rome with my family many years ago, and that was amazing. But since I traveled with family, it was a little bit more stressful than fun. Like, I don't know what your family dynamic is like, but my family dynamic is not the easiest. So it was a little bit more stressful than I wanted it to be. But yeah, I guess it was life changing to a certain degree. But yeah, I'll definitely do more traveling this upcoming year. I just moved out on my own last year, so like I think I've just been enjoying that part of things, that part of life, just like living alone, which I absolutely love. It's so much fun, like being in complete control of your day and just living life. It's been great. Let me see. Let me turn this back on. Let's see if this automatically connects. Is it already connected? Yeah, I think this is working. Looks like it's working on my end. Let's see if it pops up on the screen in a second. But yeah, back to drawing. So that was maybe a couple minutes. Let me check. It was a good like 7-minute break. So let's see how far this camera can go. So what else are you guys up to? Are you guys just relaxing? Maybe cleaning a little bit? I actually find like live streams also great for cleaning. Like if I'm cleaning, I like to like turn something on. Just because you know that live streams last a long time, so you can just like turn it on, do a 2 hour cleaning session, and usually you have a companion through it all. Try going somewhere close by that you've never been to. Exploring your own environment might spur you on. You know what? That is a great point. Me and my friends lately have been trying to like go on more hikes, like drive further out and like actually enjoy the scenery, and that's always enjoyable. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way of looking at it. Taking things in small steps instead of trying to like dive in and do the whole thing all at once. I also do want to take on the challenge of like doing a bit of solo travel, because I think that would be good for me. But yeah, good point. So here we go. What else can we draw? Let's just draw a random shape here. Let's see what we can come up with. Yeah. So what I'm picturing here is a hand coming down here, and then maybe these two characters are like facing each other, talking about something. Having a little conversation. This character like being very expressive about something. This character is vibing out, just chilling. There we go. Just having a little fun. It is interesting how quickly your mind can like make stories out of just like the interaction of two random characters on a drawing. Like that is some of the magic of the human mind, just like how quickly that happens. Like it's wild to me that this is just a blob and there's two dots and a line here, and you already think of this as a face. That's all it takes. That has always been like magical to me. The fact that that's all, literally all it takes. Like even emojis, like how simple emojis are. The fact that you can read that as a, like an emotion, and you can use that to like communicate is wild. I think that's also why drawing is so satisfying, because you can just like make a couple marks and there it is. There's a whole character, a whole persona and feelings all captured in a simple drawing. Right, like you can just like, I can draw this box and I can go like that, and you already see that as like a sad little character. And draw it like raining on it. A little cloud over its head. Look how sad that is. Oh, having a little sad moment. We all need a little sad moment, you know. Gotta listen to some Adele. Let those tears out. We have a chubby like character there. Legs and arms. Arm out like this. Maybe there's a small character on the hand there, holding it like that. And like legs coming down here. Couple of flowers on its head. One thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is how do I like kind of build a community around this drawing thing? You know what I mean? How do I feel more connected to the people I'm teaching? That is like the live streaming is part of that. But I'm also trying to figure out how else I can do feel more deeply connected with people. I'm realizing that's actually really important to me. I also think that's part of like getting older, like the craving for community. I think that everyone wants that, but I think as I'm getting older, I'm realizing how important that actually is. Like how much better your day is when you feel connected to people. Especially because I work from home. I think that's a big part of it. Like my friends who like work in offices and stuff, they at least get to interact with people daily. Because I work from home, this might be the best way for me to like feel like, oh yeah, I'm part of humanity. I exist. So we'll see how it goes. But I also have to work on the flower drawing course and get that rolling. The real challenge is just balancing everything, you know? I'm sure you guys understand. Like if you're trying to learn how to draw, for example, how do you make the time for it? How do you make sure you have energy to like enjoy it? I think I balance that with everything else. Although I have a tendency to try to organize too much, so I'm trying to be a little bit more loose with things and just let things happen. Because being uptight about it also doesn't help. Because then you end up just being stressed about the plan rather than actually getting things done. There we go. Cute little character there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do a couple of more and then maybe call it a day. We're closing in on about an hour. I think an hour should be, I think an hour maybe, if we could do like an hour stream here and there, I think that would be perfect. The only challenge with live streaming is that like most people are used to very long live streams and that's kind of like how you build audience, but I think an hour live stream a day on weekdays would be good. We'll see how it goes. Yet again, my planning mind is like, how do we do this perfectly? How do we have the perfect plan? It's actually something that me and my therapist talked about yesterday. It's just like, how do we not do that all the time? Like, obviously, some planning is good, but in what parts of life do we not need that? You know? Especially when it comes to like exploring something creative, I think that's where it can become really detrimental if you like try to plan everything. It's like no, the whole point is like not knowing. That's the adventure part of it. So if you try to plan everything out, you might miss out on discoveries. I think friendships are the same way, right? Where sometimes the people you expect, like you meet and you're like, oh, we probably wouldn't get along, but as soon as you get to know them, you're like, wait a minute, you're like the perfect friend. You're the friend I've been looking for all along. Like I returned to dancing after like stopping for many years, and then I was really scared to go to the dance studio because I was like, oh, what if I'm the only old person? You know, because I'm slightly older, not old, but older than what most people who dance as a hobby are fairly young. I'm in my early 30s, So I like didn't want to be the creepy old guy at the dance studio. But then a bunch of other adults who decided to pick up dance were also there, and they all had the same fear as well. They were all like, "Oh, one night before I came, I was scared that I'd be the only older person here." Then I'm realizing like, oh, if my planning mind took over in that moment, then I would never have done this thing that now has like literally changed my social life. Like almost all my friends that I see on a regular basis are dancers now. Because it's like easier if you have a shared activity to like stay connected to people. Shared activities are the way to go, in my opinion. Especially if you're trying to meet new friends, right? Like if you already have friends and what you like to do is just hang out and talk, that's great. But if you're trying to meet new people, it's very hard to do that unless you have some sort of like activity that you do together. Because it happens naturally. You take a class, you meet people that way. Anyways, I think I'm going to call it a day here. My camera is heating up again. I need to figure out a solution for that. Or, I don't know how else I could... How else would I do this? I'm not sure. Old. Not... It's not old, but it's because like at like dance studios, a lot of the people there will be very young, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of high schoolers and stuff. Especially when it comes to like beginner dance classes, it tends to be, at least that's what I thought would be the case, but it turns out that there are a lot of people in their early 30s who also want to pick up new hobbies, because especially after like the pandemic, people are realizing that like, hey, I want a hobby where I'm getting out of the house and like using my body and stuff like that, you know, which makes total sense. Like it's I feel like drawing and dancing are like very fun hobbies. I think drawing is very good for like self-exploration and like introspection, and also like great for making gifts. Like I think that's what drawing is really great at. And I think dancing is really great for like fitness and like meeting people, because you like share a space. But you also like wonder how much could you build a community around drawing. I think you probably could, but I think it maybe a little bit more challenging. Anyways, I think I'm gonna call it a day. Thank you, Margaret, for keeping me company. Yeah, this was really fun. I'm definitely gonna do this again, and hopefully I'll figure out a little bit more about how to keep my camera from overheating so these streams can go a little bit longer, but I think an hour is pretty good. Thank you so much for hanging out. Appreciate y'all. See you guys in the next one. And I'm going to go over there to turn off my stream because it's not within reach. So see you around. Thank you so much. Bye. Love you. Appreciate you. Make sure to check out the website. The free tutorials are linked below. I also have like courses and stuff that you guys can check out. And that's it. See you around. Bye.